Well, I want to begin.
Here he is, Senator JuddGregg, coming on to talk to the press. Here he is.
For the position of Secretary of Commerce. This was truly a great honor, and I had felt that I could bring some very positive and constructive things to this administration, and was looking forward to that. However, as we proceeded down the road here, since the nomination was made, it's become clear to me that, I've been my own person for 30 years. I've been a governor, and I've been a congressman, I've been a senator, made my own decisions, stood for what I believe in. I'm a fiscal conservative, as everybody knows, fairly strong one. And it just became clear to me that it would be very difficult, day in and day out, to serve in this cabinet, or any cabinet for that matter, and be part of a team and not be able to be 100% with the team, 110% with the team. You can't have a blocking back who only pulls out for every second or third play. And the President has been incredibly gracious, and none of this decision is related at all and in any way to his willingness to include diversity of thought and initiative within his cabinet. Just the opposite. He has been a person who has reached out and aggressively reached out across the aisle, and I immensely respect that. And I immensely respect him, and I know he's going to be a strong and effective and good president. But for me, I just realized as these issues started to come at us and they started to crystallize, that it really wasn't a good fit, and that I wouldn't be comfortable doing this, and that it wouldn't be fair to him to be part of a team and not be able to be 100% on the team. So with that in mind, I've said I'm going to withdraw from this process. And I realize that to withdraw at this point is really unfair in many ways, but to go forward and take this position and then find myself sitting there and not being able to do the job the way it should be done on behalf of the President, 100%, that would have been an even bigger mistake. So that is why I've made this decision. I do believe, genuinely, that I can be even more effective for this presidency in the Senate than maybe even in his cabinet. I still think I have a fair amount of influence in getting things done around here, and I suspect, hopefully, that will be retained. In fact, from the comments I've received from my colleagues, that seems to be even more the case. And there are going to be a lot of issues on which I'm going to want to jump in on and carry his water here in the Senate and hopefully be successful, because there are a lot of things that have to get done, and I'm willing to work to do that. I want to especially thank a few people, my wife Kathy, who's put up with me for all these years, an incredible amount of time, and during this last week has had an especially difficult task putting up with me as we've sought work through this issue. Kathy and I want to thank the governor of New Hampshire, who has been gracious, fair, and very open with me and with us on this, and he's gone the extra mile. I want to thank Bonnie Newman, who was going to succeed me in the Senate, a person of immense talent. You folks here in Washington don't know her, but we in New Hampshire know her well. Whenever she's been called on to do a job, she's done extraordinarily well, her last job being the president of the University of New Hampshire. Actually, the Senate probably loses not having her here. I want to thank the people of New Hampshire who've allowed Kathy and I to represent them for all these years and all these very interesting times, and hopefully we've done a good job of carrying the New Hampshire message of common sense and fiscal responsibility here to Washington. And we intend to continue to do that and do it aggressively. And the bottom line is, this was simply a bridge too far for me. The President asked me to do it. I said yes. That was my mistake. Not his. Well, maybe it was his. Maybe it looked kind of as his. But it was my mistake, obviously, to say yes, because it wasn't my personality. And after 30 years of being myself, it would have been hard to assume another role that where I couldn't have been 100% all the time the team player that he needed. Again, I want to express my admiration for this president. I think he has started off very aggressively to address some very important issues. And I admire the people he's been able to attract around him, and I'm sure he'll find somebody who's strong and effective to take on this job. Why don't we just, I'll get around to everybody.
What role did issues with the census play, and will you run for re-election in 2020?
The census was only a slight catalyzing issue. It was not a major issue. Will I run? Probably not.
Can you just elaborate on the census as being an issue, and you know?
Well, I don't need to elaborate on it. It was a slight issue. I mean,
Well, what was the issue from your perspective?
it wasn't a big enough issue for me to even discuss what the issue was.
Senator,
Yep.
will you go on the stimulus, and what do you make of the administration's new plan to address the financial crisis?
Well, I think the administration is doing an extraordinary job of trying to manage this financial crisis. I think their decision to move quickly on the TARP and get the extra TARP money in place was very important. I believe that Secretary Geithner has put forward the outlines of an extremely comprehensive plan that I think will work when it gets the detail behind it. I think as soon as the detail starts to flow in behind the plan that Secretary Geithner has laid out, people in the market are going to react to it positively, because what they basically outlined was what we need. A plan that first addresses real estate and stabilizing the price of real estate, and secondly addresses the issue of how you continue to stabilize and build the financial system. I think their commitment, the Fed's commitment in the area of TALF, of over $1 trillion is just a huge commitment which hasn't really been absorbed yet as to its implications for the market. I genuinely believe that once the market takes a look at what they've proposed, as the specifics flow in behind the outline, the market's going to react very positively to it.
Senator, how are you going to vote on the stimulus bill?
Well, can I save that for tomorrow when we vote on the stimulus bill?
Senator,
Yeah.
I got put out a statement that said that you had approached them about the job and expressed a willingness or readiness to work with the administration on part of it. How do we reconcile that with what your expression today is?
Well, one of the nice things about this business is everybody has a different recollection of what happened. There is no question but that when they asked me if I would do the job, I said I would. And that's the bottom line. And as a very practical matter, I made a mistake. I should have focused sooner and more effectively on the implications of being in the cabinet versus myself as an individual doing my job. That's something I'll struggle with for a while as to why I wasn't more focused sooner. I think this, obviously what happened was as we moved forward over the week, I did focus. This came very quickly, remember. It didn't come over a period of months. It came over a period of a week and a half, well, 2 weeks now. So I guess the euphoria of the desire to do something and move, maybe do something else that was interesting, and also my genuine belief that this administration, and specifically this president, is going to be a good presidency, is what caused me to say yes without really thinking through the implications to me as an individual and the way I approach issues, and the fact that I've always been independent and had a fair amount of opinion and principle that it would be hard for me to adjust or trim my sails on.
I'm not a crook.